Okay, let's go.
Society usually demands that we figure out exactly who we are, gather as much information as possible, and then project that identity with absolute self-confidence. But having any kind of confidence, whether it's a superiority complex or a poverty complex, is a serious problem. It's actually a psychological flaw that limits how you interact with the world. A complex is simply an assumption you've made about yourself. You concretize that assumption in your mind, turning a flexible thought into a rigid, unmoving internal anchor. When you carry this rigid assumption, you stop seeing reality. You just try to force your way through life. Because the world is constantly shifting while you remain fixed, you inevitably make a fool of yourself. Think back to the things you were absolutely certain about when you were 12 years old. At the time, those ideas felt like universal truths. Looking back now, you know those ideas were wrong. And if your past self was wrong, you can be sure that what you confidently believe today will also be proven false in another 3 years. Operating with unyielding confidence means you are asserting things that are likely incorrect. If you know you aren't seeing things clearly, you'll walk carefully. But if you're confident, you'll simply blunder into traps, be it a stifling profession or a social situation you can't escape. Imagine we turn off all the lights and ask you to walk through a pitch-black, unfamiliar room. The moment the lights go out, your confidence vanishes. You become super alert. You move with intense consciousness, hesitating and feeling your way forward because you know you cannot see. But when the lights are on, you walk unconsciously. You're so confident in your vision that you stop paying attention, often bumping into people and obstacles without a second thought. This is the difference between confidence and clarity. Clarity is the act of treating every moment of your life like you're in that dark room, remaining so alert and sensitive to the present that you don't need to rely on past assumptions to know where to step. To maintain this level of high-definition awareness, you have to extinguish your confidence. Only then can you actually see things for what they are. Knowledge is often just a collection of fixed past conclusions. Clarity, however, is observing things exactly as they are right now. If things change and you're relying on knowledge, you'll be blind to the new reality. There is a story about a man named Sankaran Pillai that illustrates how fixed knowledge can lead to total failure, even when you think you're right. Pillai was fired from his job because he asked a simple question: smoking or non-smoking? The problem was that he wasn't at a restaurant, he was working at a funeral home, and he was supposed to be asking cremation or burial. Pillai was right in the sense that he asked a standard service question, but because he wasn't paying attention to the actual situation, his knowledge was completely irrelevant. Many formal education systems mirror this mistake. By focusing on 20 years of static information, from kindergarten to a PhD, research suggests we may actually destroy a vast majority of a student's dynamic intelligence, replacing it with a basket of fixed facts. Being right doesn't matter if your fixed knowledge makes you irrelevant to the situation you're actually in. In the real world, nobody wants to be around the person who is always right, but never relevant. A few generations ago, the mere ability to read was enough to make a person seem godlike because everyone else was illiterate. Those people thrived simply because they possessed a skill no one else had. But once literacy became universal, that advantage vanished. We no longer see someone as superior just because they can read a book. We are now seeing the same thing happen with information. People who carry around a mental basket of facts to feel superior are about to find themselves in a very difficult position. If you need the temperature in a remote city like Entebbe, a digital assistant can give you the exact morning, afternoon, and evening forecasts in 2 seconds. It doesn't bat an eyelid, and it doesn't need to study. As this technology becomes ubiquitous, the act of hoarding information will lose all value. Within the next 2 decades, possessing a library of facts in your head will be a completely obsolete human trait, because that information will be available to everyone, everywhere, instantly. This creates what we might call the knowledgeable idiot, someone who can impress people by throwing around data, but who lacks the actual competence to do anything beyond what a machine can do better. To remain relevant in the coming years, you have to move beyond information. You have to abandon the false confidence of what you know and cultivate the dynamic clarity of seeing the world as it actually is.